At the close of the previous Sarga, we beheld Ayodhya, a city vast in form, precise in its design, and resplendent in its wealth. We saw its towering gateways, its well-ordered streets, its abundance of resources. But above all, we were told this, that noble men lived there, men who were worthy of calling that city their home. And so in this Sarga, we move deeper, not into the city, but into its people. For what truly makes a kingdom Mahan is not its walls, nor its wealth, but the quality of its people. Come, let us behold them now. Tasyam Puryamayodhyayam Vedavit Sarva Sangraha Dirghadharshihi Mahatejaha Paurjanapada Priyaha Ikshvakunam Atiratho Yajva Dharma Paro Vashi Maharshi Kalpo Rajarshistrishu Lokeshu Vishrutaha Balavan Nihita Mitro Mitravan Vijitendriyaha Dhanaischa Sanchayaishchanyaihi Shakra Vaishravanopamaha Yatha Manur Mahateja Lokasya Parirakshita Tatha Daśaratho Raja Lokasya Parirakshita Tena Satyabhisandhena Trivargamanutashchita Palisa Puri Sreshta Indrenava Amaravati Tasmin Puravare Hrishta Dharmatmano Bahushrutaha Narastushta Dhanaihi Svaihi Svairaluptaha Satyavadinaha Nalpasannichayaha Kaschidasit Tasmin Purottame Kutumbiye Hyasiddhartho Agavashva Dhanadhanyavan Kamiva na Kartayova Nrushamsaha Purushaha Kvachit Drashtum Shakyamayodhyayam na Avidvan na Chanastikaha Sarve Narascha Naryascha Dharmashilaha Susamyataha Muditaha Shilavrutabhyam Maharshaya Ivamalaha Na Kundali na Mukuti na Stragvi nalpa Bhogavan na Mrushto na Nalittango na Sugandhascha Vidyate Na Mrushta Bhoji na Data Napya Ananga Danishkadhruk na Hasta Bharano Vapi Drushate Napyanatmavan Na Nahitagnir na Yajva na Kshudrova na Taskaraha Kaschitasit Ayodhyayam na Chavrutto na Sankaraha Swakarma Nirata Nityam Brahmana Vijitendriyaha Dana Adhyayana Shilascha Samyatascha Pratigrahe Nastiko na Nruti Vapi na Kaschit Abahushrutaha na Suyako na Chashakto na Vidvan Vidyate Kvachit Na Shanga Vidatrasti na Vrato na Sahastrataha na Dinaha Kshipta Chittova Vyathito Vapi Kaschana Kaschin Narova Nariva na Shrima Napya Rupavan Drashtum Shakyamayodhyayam Napi Rajanya Bhaktiman Varneshvagraya Chaturtheshu Devata Atiti Pujakaha Krutagyasya Vadanyascha Shura Vikrama Sanyutaha Dirghayusho Nara Sarve Dharmam Satyam Cha Samshritaha Sahitaha Putra Pautraischa Nityam Stribihi Purottame Kshatram Brahmamukam Chasid Vaishyaha Kshatram Anuvrataha Shudraha Swakarma Nirata Strin Varnan Upacharinaha Sa Tenekshvakunathena Purisu Parirakshita Yatha Purastan Manuna Manavendrena Dhimata Yodhanam Agnikalpanam Peshalanam Amarshinam Sampurna Krutavidhyanam Gruha Kesaranamiva Kamboja Vishaye Jatair Bahlikaischa Hayottamaihi Vanayujair Nadijaischa Purna Hariyottamaihi Vindhya Parvata Jair Mattaihi Purna Haimavatairapi Madanvitairati Balair Matangaihi Parvatopamaihi Airavata Kulinaischa महापद्मकुलैस्तथा अज्जनादपि निष्क्रान्तैर्वामनादपि च द्विपैः भद्रैर्मन्द्रैर्मृगैश्चैव भद्रं मन्द्रं मृगैस्तथा भद्रमन्द्रैर्भद्रमृगं मृगमन्द्रैश्च सा पुरी नित्यमत्तैः सदा पूर्णा नागैर्जलसन्निभैः सा योजने द्वे च भूयः सत्यमाना प्रकाशते यस्यां दशरथो राजा वसञ्जगद पालयत् तां पुरीं स महातेजा राजा दशरथो महान् शशास शमिता मित्रो नक्षत्राणिव चन्द्रमाः तां सत्यनामां दृढतोरणार्गलां गृहैर्विचित्रैरूपशोभितां शिवां पुरीमयोध्यां नृसहस्रसङ्कुलां शशास वैश्चक्रसमो महीपतिः. In that city of Ayodhya, there lived a king, deeply learned in the Vedas, devoted to the welfare of all beings. He was far-sighted, full of energy, and dearly loved by his people. Born in the lineage of Ikshvaku, he was righteous, firmly established in Dharma. Renowned across the whole world, he was a great sovereign, cherished by all and endowed with noble resolve. Powerful, free from enemies, surrounded by loyal allies, he had mastered his senses and stood as a protector of Dharma. He was skilled in warfare, including the use of divine astras. He was no ordinary warrior. In the language of the ancients, a Maharathi was one who could stand in battle, protecting himself, his charioteer, and his horses, even while facing thousands. But even beyond that stood the Atirathi, one who could confront many such Maharathis at once. Daśaratha was such a warrior. He was a Atirathi. Just as Manu once protected the world, so too did this king guard his people with vigilance and care. Under such a ruler, truthful in speech, unwavering in resolve, firmly established in the four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, Ayodhya flourished, resplendent like Amravati, the celestial city of Indra. And within that city lived its people, men and women who were deeply rooted in Dharma, truthful, content, and fulfilled within their means. There was no lack, not merely of wealth, but of purpose. Every householder lived in fullness, rich in cattle, grain, and resources, yet all of them aligned towards their righteous living. Desire did not rule them. Cruelty found no place. There was refinement, dignity, and learning everywhere. They lived in harmony, disciplined and self-regulated, joyful in disposition, gentle in nature, and steady in character. Their prosperity was visible in their ornaments, their garments, and their fragrant presence. But their true wealth was not what they wore, it was how they lived. The sacred fires were never absent. Yajnas were not neglected. There was no theft, no degradation of conduct. The Brahmanas were self-restrained, masters of their senses, devoted to charity, and disciplined in conduct. Truth was not debated there. It was simply lived. There were no deniers of what is sacred, no speakers of falsehood. Learning was not rare, it was natural. No one lacked discipline, no one lacked generosity. There was no poverty, no distress, no one abandoned to suffering. All lived in prosperity and in loyalty to their king. Each of them fulfilled their role, aligned to their duties, engaged in worship, honoring guests, and skilled in their crafts, generous in living, and courageous in spirit. They lived long lives, anchored in Dharma and truth, together with their families, their children, and their grandchildren. Society moved in harmony, guided by wisdom and sustained by order. The city stood protected, as it once had been under Manu, and now under its king. Its warriors were like lions, fierce and disciplined, intolerant of dishonor. Its horses swift and noble, from distant lands and sacred terrains. Its elephants massive and powerful, like moving mountains. And in the midst of this vast and thriving world stood the king, radiant, victorious, his enemies subdued. He ruled that city as the moon rules over the stars. That city, Ayodhya, true to its very name, fortified, radiant, filled with life, was ruled like the domain of Indra himself. And yet, within this perfection, there remained something unfulfilled. This Sarga gave us a glimpse into what people were like in that yugam, the Treta Yugam. It is tempting to think of these yugas as merely divisions of time, markers on a cosmic calendar. But that would be a grave simplification. The central thread of this entire narrative is Dharma. After all, do not forget what the Maharshi declared at the very beginning. This is Vedopabhrahmanam, an unfolding, a living commentary of the Vedas themselves. And Sri Rama is Dharma in embodied form. Ramo Vigraham Dharmaha. And hence, in every corner of this tale, you will encounter the subtle workings of Dharma. For the truer something is, the more subtle it becomes. The more subtle it is, the loftier it becomes. And the loftier it is, the easier it is to misunderstand it. Such is Dharma. Words like righteousness are woefully inadequate. Dharma is not a rule. It is not a moral instruction. Dharma is the very nature of reality. As the Upanishads declare, Sarvam Khalidam Brahman. All this is indeed Brahman. And to live in alignment with that reality is Dharma. And thus it is said, Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. Dharma protects those who uphold it. Because alignment with reality naturally gives rise to bliss and contentment. Misalignment inevitably leads to suffering. In the Satyugam, this alignment was natural. It was not taught. It was not enforced. It was simply lived. But as time unfolded and humanity slowly drifted away, that which was once natural had to be taught. In Treta Yugam, this expression of Dharma began to take form as Maryada, boundaries, structures, and codes of living. And thus we remember Rama as Maryada Purushottama, the one who lives Dharma within the framework of human life. As the ages progressed, this understanding dimmed. In Dvapara Yuga, the essence was weakened, and what remained was simply parampara, tradition without full understanding. And in Kali Yuga, even that becomes burdensome. We forget the why. We abandon the structure and drift further still. So, when we speak of yugams, we're not merely speaking of time. We are speaking of our proximity to Dharma. And that proximity shapes the very fabric of society. Now, return your gaze to Ayodhya, to those noble men who were said to be worthy of calling that city their home. From this vantage point, we begin to understand what it means to be Na Alpa Bhogavan, not one of small fortune, but one of inner abundance, not driven by excess, but fulfilled in alignment. As the Upanishad declares, Atmanandam Brahmavido Viduhu, the knower of the self knows true bliss. This contentment was not accidental. It arose because they lived in alignment with Dharma. And this is not lost to time. It is not reserved for another age. It is available even now. For Dharma is not elsewhere. It is your very nature. And when that is realized, contentment is no longer sought. It simply is. We will return to this again and again throughout this enchanting tale. How can we not? For this is not merely a story. It is, after all, Vedopa Brahmanam.